सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen तो.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
In this edition of Global Print, dear viewer, I'm going to talk to you about Bangladesh. Now, you know that Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is in Delhi. She has been here for the last couple of days. It's a very important visit. Bangladesh is perhaps India's most important neighbor. The relationship is going really, really well. And the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, is meeting with Prime Minister Modi. This is the 13th time that both leaders have met. So, in a sense, this demonstrates the importance of Bangladesh to India. And I hope you will read my column Global Print, in which I talk about the bigger issues, both connectivity and why Bangladesh is so important to India. But before I go any further, I'd like to make an appeal to you, dear viewer. I do hope that you will consider subscribing to The Print. It's very little money, rupees 159 only, but you will get special benefits and privileges that non-subscribers don't have. And of course, you will be a part of The Print's free, fair, objective and unhyphenated journalism that we have been bringing to you for the last 5 years, and we hope that with your encouragement we will continue to do so. Now, the visit of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, very important visit, India giving it the due that it deserves. The Prime Minister of Bangladesh has been here since Monday. She leaves for Dhaka, which is home, back tomorrow, which is on Thursday, and the sweep of ties between the two countries has been discussed, obviously between her and the Indian leadership. Several agreements have been signed, amongst them a treaty to share the waters of the Kushiara River. Now, this is a trans-boundary river, meaning it flows from India into Bangladesh, Bangladesh being the lower riparian state. And this is one of several rivers, in fact, as many as 56 trans-boundary rivers between India and Bangladesh. Now, the Teesta water sharing was not discussed, although when former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh in 2011, when he went to Dhaka, there was some conversation on it. But let bygones be bygones, because at the time, then Chief Minister of West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee, she is the Chief Minister today as well, her relationship with the Congress government, Congress-led UPA government at the time, wasn't so great. And for some reason, for the last decade or so, the Teesta Waters Accord is still hanging. Although Prime Minister Hasina did say during her visit to Delhi that she hopes that India will be generous and India will find it in herself to be able to share the waters of the Teesta River. Many other initiatives have also taken place, amongst them talks on a comprehensive economic partnership agreement will start very soon between the two countries, and this will pave the way for a greater economic integration between the two countries. Now, to give you the big picture, why is the relationship with Bangladesh so important to India? If you go back into history, of course, this is the 50th anniversary of Bangladesh's independence, 1971. It's 51 years, actually. India, of course, played a very big role in that freedom movement of Bangladesh when it helped Bangladesh break away from Pakistan and formed a new country. And that is something that the Bangladeshis always remember. So if you visit Bangladesh, dear viewer, and I have to tell you that you must visit. It's a great country, very, very warm and friendly people. A lot of them actually speak only Bengali, but that doesn't matter, because they are just so warm and friendly, and there's very generous people. Also, Bangladesh has some of the most beautiful beaches. You must go to Cox's Bazar, which is what I did. It has the longest natural sandy beach in the entire world, more than 125 kilometers long, and it's just absolutely stunning, that piece of real estate. So Bangladesh, full of these natural wonders, which are a must visit for all of you. But to come back to the story, to come back to the question, why is Bangladesh so important for India? So I've told you a little bit about the independence movement that the people of Bangladesh fought for in 1971, and which India, the people of India, as well as the Indian leadership at the time, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, helped Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, Sheikh Hasina's father, the Prime Minister's father at the time. He was the great hero, the father, also now known as the father of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. Amazing character, just larger than life, and the way he strode across that nation like a colossus. Unfortunately assassinated along with the rest of his family, his sons, his daughters-in-law, his grandchildren, his youngest son, only 11 years old, Russell. Hasina at the time was, along with her sister Rehana, both of them had just left the country and gone abroad. Hasina at the time had just left the country to go to Germany to join her husband, who was a nuclear scientist, and Rehana, her younger sister, had gone with her, which is how they escaped that assassination on that dreadful night of August the 15th, 1975, a mere 4 years after Bangladesh attained independence, breaking away from Pakistan. And of course, the date, so interesting, 15th of August, India's Independence Day. So who could have done it? Lots of stories, including some that I've written, lots of books, which you must read, dear viewer. To again come back to the question, why is Bangladesh so important for India? So let me tell you something. And if you must look at the map. And if you look at the map, and I'm sure it's there on the screen in front of you, just look at Bangladesh. It's a tiny country, of course, compared to India. India, the largest country in South Asia. But most of Bangladesh is surrounded by India. In fact, there are 5 states that share a boundary with Bangladesh. And also a part of Myanmar shares a boundary with Bangladesh. In fact, near Cox's Bazar, where I was telling you where the longest natural sandy beach in the world is a river called Naf, the Naf River. And thousands of Rohingya Muslim refugees fleeing from the Myanmarese military junta, or junta, if you like, have been crossing the Naf River and coming into Bangladesh, into camps in Cox's Bazar. This is again something that the Bangladesh Prime Minister is believed to have spoken about with the Indian Prime Minister Modi, and said that she needs help because now there are over 5 million Rohingya refugees, and Bangladesh being a poor country, although it is exiting the status of being a least developing country, LDC, it is exiting from that category in 2026, and it's well on its way to doing that, although COVID has pulled that ambition back a bit, and there is its economy, it's like a one commodity economy, primarily based on textiles. Bangladesh has to be a bit more careful, but I'm digressing. The question again, why is Bangladesh so important for India? So like I said, let's look at the map, dear viewer. Bangladesh almost surrounded completely by India, except for that little sliver of Myanmar, and where I said to you that the military junta in Myanmar is holding full sway, which means that it's cracking down its people, and the Rohingya Muslim refugees are escaping and coming into Bangladesh. So if India is this intimate neighbor, then clearly Bangladesh and India must have a lot to do with each other. But what is fascinating is that it's Hasina herself, no one else, no other predecessor, certainly not the BNP Prime Minister Khaleda Zia, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party Prime Minister Khaleda Zia. Nobody has gone out of their way to build bridges, to expand the relationship, to improve connectivity, to create a partnership between two nations, between two leaderships, between the peoples that Hasina is doing. And that is something that you have to give her credit for. Now, why is that important, you might say? You know, every country in the world should do what it wants to, keeping its national interest in mind. But Hasina has figured that her national interest, her country's national interest, Bangladesh's national interest, is very closely interwoven with India, not with China. Now, China is, of course, the much larger country, much richer country. Xi Jinping came in 2016 to Bangladesh, cut a check of $26 billion or so. Some of that has been used. But it is with India that her destiny and her country's destiny lies. And because Prime Minister Hasina has come to that conclusion, what she has done in these last 10 years or so that she has been Prime Minister, this time, of course, she was Prime Minister in 1996 for the first time, she made the decision that India and Bangladesh, that for Bangladesh to reap the benefits of the partnership with India, this big country, strong economy, soaring economy right now, not doing so well because of COVID. But if it has to also join and participate in the fruits of progress that India was building, then the only way to do that was to integrate with India economically. So Bangladesh, an independent sovereign nation, but would like to create in real terms an economic partnership with India. But what does that mean? What does an economic partnership mean? What it means is that you have much greater connectivity between the two countries to allow people and goods to move without hindrance and obstacle from one part of the country or anybody's territory to another. Now, again, back to the map. You have the northeast, a region of 8 Indian states. You have Bangladesh in the middle, and then you have the rest of India. Now, how does how does any government in India ensure prosperity in the northeast? Because you have a very thin sliver, about 22 kilometers wide only, between Assam and the rest of the mainland. And goods traveling by road to the northeast actually becomes very expensive. But then you have Bangladesh. So it's a no-brainer that Indian goods, say from Kolkata, can traverse through Bangladesh and go to the other side. That's to the 8 sisters of the northeast, the 8 states of northeast India. And that would bring down costs considerably. Now, if that is a no-brainer, dear viewer, you would, of course, ask me, then why is it that it's not been done these past 50 years? And the short answer to that is that as soon as Bangladesh was created, became an independent country, first Bangabandhu was assassinated, and then it fell into the hands of one military dictatorship after another, until about 15 years ago when the people decided that they must return to democracy, and they've had democracy in fits and starts, and it is again now Hasina in the saddle for the last 10 years, and her decision that economic connectivity is the first stairway to heaven, or the first stairway to an economic union. And what that does is that it basically paves the way not just to smoothen the obstacles in the last 50 years since Bangladesh became independent, but go back to 1965, the war between India and Pakistan in 1965, when actually it was in the aftermath of that war that a Chinese wall was dropped between India and Pakistan. Before that, actually, movement up and down between peoples, trade, transit, goods was quite common. People were still going up and down between the two countries. But it is after the 65 war that everything came into an end. Rail links fell into disuse. Roads were suddenly cut off. And of course, there was no question of any goods being transported from one part of the country via East Pakistan then and subsequently Bangladesh. So just some examples of this connectivity that both sides have pushed. So now, under Hasina's watch, 5 of the 6 rail links of the 1965 era, which fell into disuse after the 1965 war, 5 of the 6 rail links have been operationalized. The 5th one was the Haldibari to Chilahati rail link. The others have been through Petropol, which is in India, Benapol in Bangladesh, Gede in India, Darshana in Bangladesh, Singhabad in India, Rohanpur in Bangladesh, Radhikapur in India, and Birol in Bangladesh. Besides that, there is also the dredging of the inland waterways, which will allow Indian boats carrying heavy equipment to sail down these rivers, these waterways, and come out on the other side into one of the Indian states, whether Tripura or Assam or Meghalaya. For example, the Akoda-Agartala rail link. It's a small rail link. Agartala, of course, the capital of Tripura, and you have Akoda just on the other side of Bangladesh. That is a key project that is currently being worked upon. Then on the 1st of June, there was a passenger service. You already had the Dhaka-Kolkata bus, and now you have yet another train service called the Mitali Express from New Jalpaiguri in West Bengal to Dhaka that was flagged off. But here is where it gets really interesting. So less than a fortnight ago, when everybody else in India was absorbed with so many interesting things, something very significant happened. And actually, it really didn't make it to the headlines, at least in Delhi, unfortunately, of course, is that 10 Indian tankers carrying fuel oil and petroleum entered from Meghalaya into Bangladesh and exited from Bangladesh into Tripura. Now, you can imagine what that means, because you have the Russia-Ukraine crisis. The price of oil is breaking all kinds of barriers. It's shooting up. And India, which is dependent on imported energy for its needs, at least 80% of India's energy needs are imported, and you have to sort of buy from various countries. And with the Russia-Ukraine crisis, the price of oil has become higher and higher, and we've seen how the Indian government has managed to be able to do various things on that oil front, and it's importing from Russia at very cheap and discounted rates. So here is what happened. So Meghalaya has a land port called Dauki. So from Dauki, these 10 tankers carrying petroleum oil drove towards Bangladesh on the afternoon of 25th August, which is about just under a fortnight ago, and arrived at Sylhet's Tamabil port. By the afternoon, by 4:30 p.m., they'd completed all the customs and immigration formalities. And from Sylhet's Tamabil port, they drove to the Chatlapur land customs station at Molvi Bazar. Now we are still in Bangladesh. They reached there at 9:30 p.m. So from 4:30 to 9:30 p.m., that's 5 hours. That's how long the tankers took to reach from Sylhet's Tamabil port to Molvi Bazar's Chatlapur land station. There, all the 10 tankers completed all the exit and customs formalities and drove onwards and entered Tripura at Kailash Sheher at the Manu land customs station at 10:30 p.m. Now that is staggering, because if India and Bangladesh, if the governments of Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina can come together and agree that this is what can happen, that goods from one part of India to another part of India can be transported via Bangladesh, and Bangladesh doesn't feel insecure about the fact that its territory, its sovereignty is not being tampered with, then that is such an ideal situation. And you have to give it to Prime Minister Hasina, the sense of her security, that India will do her country absolutely no harm. And that's a guarantee that the people of India are giving the people of Bangladesh. The people helped you win your independence and your freedom, and there is no question, but the people of India will definitely always root for the success of Bangladesh. Now, this is an example of that, which is why in Delhi, Prime Minister Hasina had words of very fulsome praise for Prime Minister Modi. And she said, as long as he's here, as long as Prime Minister Modi is here, we have nothing to worry about. And this is an example of that. The fact that these 10 trucks carrying 83 metric tons of petroleum oil. Now, let me just give you one figure and you will understand. if one truck coming via the Chicken's Neck, if it had cost 100 rupees to travel from the Indian mainland to the Indian northeast, then this internal journey cutting across, crisscrossing across Bangladesh brings those costs down by 1/5. It will only cost you 20 rupees to do that. These are ballpark figures, of course, but just to give you a sense of how much cheaper it is. And at a time like this, when you have a crisis over energy because of the Russia-Ukraine war, this is so helpful to India. So here is, I hope I've painted for you, dear viewer, this picture of economic interconnectivity between India and Bangladesh, to give you the sense why Bangladesh is so important to India. Of course, it's vice versa. It's not, there's no free lunch, as we say. And of course, Bangladesh also realizes that, like I said earlier, China, the big fat country willing to cut a check, much, 5 times richer than India. But Bangladesh realizes that India, the next door neighbor, will always help it in its hour of need because it's beneficial to both sides. Remember that elections are going to be held in Bangladesh next December. That's December 2023. And Prime Minister Hasina will make a pitch, of course, to win back the people. And for sure, she will count on India's help. The last 2 times, the BNP, the opposition party, has refused to participate in the elections because they feel that those have been fudged. Hopefully this time they will participate, because there's nothing like a free and fair election in any country in which the opposition plays a spirited opposing role. And that's when the people of any country have the options to choose. So Prime Minister Hasina will definitely hope that India will be able to, at least indirectly, because nobody supports anyone else directly, of course, dear viewer. But I hope I've given you a sense of what's happening in Bangladesh, why the 2 countries are important to each other, and why this visit of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is such an important one. I do hope you will read my column Global Print and the Print's website. And thank you so much for watching. I look forward to your comments on this video. Thank you.